Hello everybody, it's Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so glad you're here today for a new Tuesday tip because this one is gonna rock your world. I want to tell you about a new punch in the Stampin' Up! Catalog that has changed my life. This is the Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch punch. Oh my goodness, I've just gone creative crazy with this thing. I want to share some great tips how you're going to use this punch. It's 6 punches in one. What's not to love about that? That means it's going to take up less space than 6 punches, and it means it's not going to cost you as much as 6 punches. It does an awful lot. I can't wait to share some tips with you, so let's get started. All right, I'm so excited to share this punch with you. This is called the Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch punch. And I want you to first notice that there are 2 punches on this one individual punch. Our first one has a little more of a pointed end to it. So really great decorative corner. And then the next one is a little more just kind of beveled, a little more squared off. I like that. You notice we have these lines on the image. I'm going to zoom in so that you can see. That's going to show you that depending on what size you want your label to be, if you cut it smaller and smaller, that little guide is going to show you what your end is going to look like, what the little end is going to look like. That is really helpful. Now, I'm going to move on now to these grooves down here. Do you see these grooves? Let me show you how those work. That is there to give you a guide for your cardstock. This punch will cut 3 different size labels. 1/2 inch, and I want you to see it just slides right in there. 3/4 inch, and do you see how it slides into that next set of grooves? And then we have the largest, which is the 1 inch, and yep, that'll slide into the 1 inch groove. Same on both sides, by the way. So we have 3 different sizes of widths. But guys, the length can be anything you want. This can make great big long banners, and it can make little short ones. Whatever you need to do, you're going to be able to do it with this punch. So let's take a moment and I want to show you what each one looks like. So we're going to start with the more decorative, the little pointed end. You're going to want to take your cardstock, slide it in and push it in as far as it will go. Oops, I guess I need to open up the punch. Yep, let me show you that. There's a little locking mechanism back here. And that's going to open up my punch, or I can close it for storage. We need it open to punch though. All right, so we're going to take that 1/2 inch piece, we're going to slide it into the groove, and let's give it a punch. Now, let me show you, that's the scrap. There's not a lot, we like that. But do you see how we just got that little bit of a beveled edge, just a little tiny bit? Now, let's move on to a 3/4 inch piece. I'm going to slide that one in, give it a punch, and now do you see how I get a little bit more of the edge? Getting just a little bit more. Now let's bring in our 1 inch piece, slide that in, and this one we're going to get the full effect. There we go. So now you understand how it works, that we can get those 3 different sizes, and now we can flip these around, and we just repeat this here on the other side, and you can see I now have some great pieces ready to stamp some sentiments. And remember, these can be any length that you want. All right, let's do the other side. So this is that more kind of squared off version. So there's a little beveled edge. There's the 3/4 inch. That gives me a little bit more. Now we'll come in with our 1 inch, and that gives me even more. That gives me the full-blown effect. So now you can kind of see, we'll put those together, 6 different punches, but only 1 punch. That's why I said this thing's rocking my world. Now, let me bring in a couple of cards where I've incorporated those labels in. So you notice this could have just been a strip of cardstock, you know, but don't you think that little beveled edge just adds such a difference? This one here, again, I just wanted to say always, but I got to make it a little more attractive just by adding, again, that little extra touch of adding that punch. I will be doing these 2 cards and creating these 2 cards on my next YouTube Live, and that will be be this coming Thursday. So that's Thursday, June 18th. It'll be at noon Central Time right here on YouTube. If you will look down in the YouTube description, you'll look for a link. And on that link, it's going to send you over to my blog post where I talk about the punch for today, and there'll be some information about where you can watch the YouTube live. I'd love to have you. Even if you can't join me live, you're going to be able to catch it on the replay. So these two cards are going to be great. We have one, it's a flashcard mashup. This one is created with scraps. So we've got two fabulous cards waiting for you on the next YouTube live, June 18th. All right, let's get back to the video. Now, I have another tip I want to share. Did you see these little labels that I put on my punch? I did that for a reason. Add an inch and add 3/4 of an inch. You might be going, why am I adding? Well, let me show you. I'm going to bring in, actually, I want to bring in the stamp set that goes along with this punch. This is actually offered as a bundle. So this is the Lovely You stamp set. You can get the Lovely You stamp set and the Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch as a bundle, and you save 10%. Gotta love that. And so we're going to use this sentiment to kind of help us, and I'm going to show you why I'm adding a little bit to my cardstock. So let me bring in some grid paper, and I'm going to stamp Wildly Grateful. And I'm just going to put that right down here on my grid paper. Stamping just made it a little bit easier for you to see. So I can kind of see about where I want to line up that sentiment. And that looks like, about 2 3/8 inch, all right? Now, my width, and remember, when I'm talking about the width, I'm talking width, needs to be the 3/4 inch, so I'm going to need a 3/4 inch piece. And like I said, I've got, I'm going to say I want to center that up and go about 2 3/8. But if you recall, I said add an inch. So let's get ourselves a piece of cardstock that is 3 3/8 by 3/4. I'm going to bring in my punch and that cardstock. Let's punch on both ends. And do you see my two pieces of scrap from each end? If I were to put those back to back, guess what? That's about 1 inch. That's why I know on this punch to add about 1 inch to each side, so I know exactly what size to cut my cardstock so that I get that centered just the way I want it. All right, let me do another one with the other side, because you'll notice here on the punch, it says to only add 3/4 of an inch. So that means this piece is going to be 3 1/8 inch, pushing it in as far as it will go on both sides. And we should, you notice these little scrap pieces. Yep, if I put those back to back, it's only about 3/4 of an inch. So now, once again, I'm ready for my stamped image. You're in love with it now, right? I know. It is a fantastic punch, and I am so excited to start incorporating this into my stamping. Now, if you're ready to order this punch, let me tell you where you can find it. Look down there in the YouTube description. You're going to see a link that'll take you right to the blog post where I talk about this. Look for the picture, click on a pic. It'll take you right to my online store, and you can order right there. Guys, you're not going to regret having this fabulous punch in your collection of punches. Trust me. Thank you again so much for being here today, everybody. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.